Okay, straight off with the apology. I'm running 15 minutes late, guys. The plan was a 10 a.m. start. This one is a little bit of a test to see how this works. My plan was to get it all sorted so I could share my screen and do things like that. I've got to work out how to do that and download some software, I think, to make it a little bit more easier. But the plan is today is just to go through. We've had a few videos put in the post. There's still time. Maybe we can get to some more. So if you haven't put a video up yet, there's a post on my in the community section. This one. Whoa, what have I done now? Lost what I'm doing. Okay, posts. So if you come to the posts section, where is it? There, the one that's underlined, post section, and then we have the top post, free training, critiques, calisthenics, and handstand feedback. Add your video links to the comments, and I'll critique them on the live stream. So let's just start going through them, the people that have put them up already. If you are going to put them up, like, give me a little bit of information as well. Let me know what you're working towards, where your issues are. If you want any feedback specifically to the next progression or something like that, and then I'll do my best to help you out. Okay, first of all, and I think, Pedro, yeah, you're online, buddy. So let's have a look. We've got the first video, which is how can I improve my press to handstand and overall balance? Okay, so let's let that play again. Hopefully will it play automatically? So let's go back to the start again. So Pedro's going up on a elevated surface. So I'm a big fan of doing elevated work. So when you go up into your elevated handstand, it sends your energy straight up on top of the base. So we have the hands, we have the shoulders, and then ideally the hips and the legs will go on top. So the easiest way to do that is to go straight up to your handstand, not over. A lot of people, when they're learning, they'll throw themselves into handstand. So already doing it on an elevated surface, I'm a big fan of. So that's fantastic. And it's a nice flat surface that's got a good surface area as well. So that's awesome. And then we can look at the speed that you're going up. The legs frogging around the outside. And now that's not an issue at all. All that means is that, again, it allows the body to go directly on top of the base as you go up. So frogging the legs around can often be better than trying to be strict with the legs, especially if you're lacking some mobility or just the pathway isn't as clean. So entry and then hold itself is pretty good. You can see the shoulders, the focal point, the arms are doing the work in the handstand. At no point do the hips and the legs get on top and throw you out. So that's really, really awesome. So all I would work on there, I would do exactly what you're doing, but then do a really slow eccentric down. So think at the moment, the finesse, the quality, the time under tension from a press point of view will be that eccentric, the coming down slowly. So let me move a couple of things and I'll demo. So I'm going to use the famous IKEA steps. But same idea, doesn't matter the height. Obviously, there's a prerequisite if you're doing something like this that you need to be able to handstand and bail out of something higher. But what I'd be working on is exactly the same thing as what you was doing. So you've got the clearance. Go up, whatever that looks like. I tried to mimic your position. So really good, your shoulders are forward slightly. Your focal point is straight down. That's exactly where we want to be. At no point do we want to be like this and have the hips and legs right over the top. We can have the legs over a little bit, but shoulders want to stay down on top. So you're doing that really, really nicely. And then when we do the eccentric, I would just come down as slow and as controlled as you can, trying to roll through the spine, keep the legs close to being on top of the base, and then see if you can go all the way down to the floor, but just much slower. So that way you've got way more time under tension. You can do the down like you want the up to look. And that'll make that much easier. I don't like that sound. Let me get this back on here. But fantastic work where you are already. That's awesome. Lots of consistency in your in your training, and then you'll go really far with that. So that's awesome. Okay, let's look at the next video. Okay, now we've got a Pedro again. How can I improve my one arm handstand? So this will be a good test for me not being warmed up. Okay, so we've got a straddle position, and then we've got a big movement off to one side. So if we look at the speed that you went into that, so you're going to play again. Okay, so good straddle, come across elbows really nicely towards the midline. But there's a few things going on here. Let me try and pause the position. Okay, so if we look at the straddle handstand, so basically we want to go in the strongest straddle position that you can get into that's consistent, that you can go to. So in terms of the straddle, it needs to be locked. It needs to be in position. Now, ideally, it would be super wide, but it might be something like this. But we want to make sure it's fully locked in. And what we definitely don't want to have is something like this when we're trying to balance on two arms, let alone on one arm. So we need to fix that. Now, you do that quite nicely. It looks like your straddle doesn't move that much, but you could definitely improve on that straddle in terms of it becoming one segment, slowly getting wider, and also think that it needs to mate with the torso. So you don't want to have a straddle that's not in with the torso as well. So if I'm doing a straddle handstand, I want the straddle to be really locked in to the torso like this. What I don't want to do is have a straddle that's flopping about on top of the torso. So really close that, lock it in. Super important for the one arm handstand because we don't want any instability. We want to have it as stable as one and a really good connection through to the base. Then we're going to have a look at your distance between your hands. So your distance between your hands is a little bit too wide to allow a good transition because you've got further to move. I'm just trying to put it back. So if you look at the distance between your hands, at the moment, I'd say that's a little bit too wide to learn the one-arm handstand. It's going to have to be a big shift across to one side, where if you go a little bit closer with the hands, you don't have to move so far. So it makes more sense. It's much easier to transfer weight. Now, the benefit of going wider with the hands is when you go over to one side, is that now you've got a bigger base support because the hand that's assisting you, the fingertips, is further away. So that can be a blessing, but also a curse because it's going to give you a bigger base of support, but you're going to be more connected to it, and it's going to be harder to lift the hand up. Elbows really nice. So your elbows are in towards the midline, which is fantastic. What we don't want to do is have the elbows popping out the outside. So all I do at the moment is see whether you can shift across and do holds for 5 to 10 seconds. So it might be at the moment where you're just going onto fingertips. And the cool thing about on the P-bars is you're already at an elevated height. Because when we go up onto fingertips, our shoulder tends to come up as well. We want to try and keep the shoulders in line when we go into position. So if we look at what happens when you go up, so you just move too fast to go into position. So actually your shoulders stay at a really nice height. So you've lifted the hand up, but you can see your straddle's changed, and then you've just gone into survival mode to stay there. So all I do is just get into a position where you can go for holds. So if I'm going to go up into my one-arm handstand, I'm going to be here. Notice the distance between the hands. So your position was like here, and then I have to shift across big time. But if I'm here, it's easier to shift because I don't have to go so far. So I lock the straddle, try and push the elbows in towards the midline, come across, hold. So practice this 5 to 10 seconds there, then 5 to 10 seconds on fingertips, fingertip, and then have a little play with lifting and coming back down again. But I wouldn't rush those steps. So do a number of sets where you're just going to weight shift, holding, coming back again. And like say to yourself, like you're going to do 5 of those where you go up onto fingertips or just stay there, but you must return back to your two-arm handstand. Then you've ticked that off, and then I would go into have some fun. Try lifting the hand up, try and balance, but always have those working sets where you're working to really good technique, quality reps, where you return back to two arms. So let's just watch the whole video one more time. And this is the thing with the one arm handstand, like you've already got a great 2-arm handstand, which is allowing you to start to play with these. But the next step is a lot of repetitions of just fingertips. And you've got to be realistic that that's probably going to be 18 months, 2 years before you're starting to hold for consistently for 10, 15 seconds in a 1-arm handstand. But just keep playing with it and it will come. You've got a really good base. You've got good flexibility in the upper body. Okay. What do we have next? Okay, next one I think was just the 90, I say just, very impressive 90-degree handstand push-ups. So body coming down as one segment. See how the body stays as one. Stays as one, not much arching on the way back up, which is fantastic. And then I put a video up recently of me doing a double, and it definitely wasn't as clean as this. I bananaed a little bit up on that, especially on the second one. You do it nicely. So the only thing I would deduct a point on is the second repetition you fell out of the handstand. So if you do fall out of the handstand, that probably shows me that the only thing that I would work on there is to become stronger at your 2-arm balance in terms of have a bigger range of motion. So if you ever make it out of a hard position, whether it's a press, whether it's a handstand push-up, whether it's a planche press up to handstand, we want to get your balance so it never fails. So, you know, even when it's windy, even if you're being pushed, you don't fall over. Exactly the same as on our feet. When we're standing on 2 feet, we're super stable. We've got so much room for error. We can be completely over to one side, or, you know, that 360 degrees, we're not going to fall over. Someone can bump into us and we don't fall over. We want our 2-arm handstand to be that strong. So that's the only negative, or not negative, the only thing I'd recommend that you work on out of this, because the repetitions of 2 reps on a 90 degree, you got hands on the floor as well. It's really good. So fantastic work. Okay, we got tuck planche. So when we're doing a banded tuck planche position, what we want to do is if we took a picture of that and we photoshopped the band out so you couldn't see the band, we want that to be exactly the same as our non-banded version, or the goal of the non-banded version in terms of the position. So if I'm just trying to pause it. Why is it not pausing? Okay, let me pause it at the bit I'm looking at. Okay, so if we look at that now, that should ideally look like a non-banded planche in respect to the positioning. So one of the mistakes a lot of people make with the bands is they have the band pulling backwards a long way. So the band might be over here somewhere and going like this. So the downside of having the band behind you in that direction is that it pulls you backwards and takes the energy in this way. We want the energy to be up and forwards for a planche, up into the shoulders, up into protraction, into that rounded back, because that's the strength that holds you up in a planche. So we want to be seeing dead straight arms, rounded upper back, full protraction. So we shouldn't be able to see shoulder blades in a planche position. And that's exactly what you're doing there. So the arms perfect, the protraction perfect, the head position, again, perfect. Hip height, that's exactly where I like to have a tuck planche position, like in line with the shoulders or slightly higher. Slightly lower means that you're having to hang on to it. And normally you don't get the protraction then. But in that position, we've got a really nicely rounded back. The only thing that I think would make that a bit more applicable to your tuck planche without the band, and it's hard because I haven't seen that. So to see your attempts without the band would be interesting. But normally when someone when they're first learning the tuck planche, their knees will have to actually be sticking through their arms a little bit more. So you'll have to be in a tighter tuck. So anything sticking out the back is going to make that harder. So if I demo, are you using bars? Yeah, you're using P-bars. So let me demo on the P-bars as well. So what we want to do is use have the same position. So see how my knees are poking out of my arms? So that's going to be easier for me to stay in a tuck planche as long as I can comfortably get into a ball like this from mobility-wise. The smaller the lever arm, the smaller the object, the easier it's going to be to balance, the less the lever arms sticking at the back. So knees are there, and then I'm going to planche in that position. So yours is a little bit more there. So that's all I would do, is try and tighten it up until you can do a planche without the band. Then when you can do the tuck planche without the band, then I'd add in the progressions using the band and potentially play with harder positions. Now that might be what you're doing already, but I don't know that. So it'll be interesting to compare that against your standard planche, like without the band. I'm just going to carry on going through the videos, and then I'll have a look at the questions we've got, especially if there's anyone in the group now who are on the live whose videos I've looked at, because we can come back to them. Okay, I've only been practicing for just over a year, and I have a very bad lat flexibility, so a pretty bad banana handstand as a result. Okay, so we've got a partial range press handstand, so using a frog to go up. Okay, so obviously it depends on what the goals are. Now, impressively, you go up, so you can press up. It's a bit messy, it's a bit clunky. We go forwards and backwards with the shoulders. We're using froggy legs to come up. So it's hard to assess 100%. So you've said that you've got tight lats. So basically, there's some things going on here. Because of the amount of time you've practiced, your body's created positions of strength. There's a road sweeper just gone past, so it might get noisy in a minute, so I apologize if it does, guys. Okay, so your body has created certain positions. So positions of strength where it's happy, and then you have to fight those positions depending on your goals, which is really challenging because some people might have flexibility that allows them to do cleaner positions, but if you practice thousands of reps with a certain technique, it's sometimes hard to get rid of it. So we need to be a little bit careful there. So what you need to do is you need to assess your flexibility in different positions and try and work out whether you actually truly do lack flexibility in the positions you do. And if you do, then you can work on those things. Or it's a position of strength and it's just a habit type thing. Now, the cleanest, easiest way to tell that in a handstand is to use chest to wall handstand is probably the easiest way, and just see how clean you can make your handstand line when balance is not an issue. So you can use the wall to help you. And then with the press handstand, to see what pathway you have available is to do as slowest eccentric you can. Now, there is a little bit of a skill requirement there when you do the eccentric because you'll need to hold the balance. So you might need to use the wall. But if we're going to assess your handstand position, we want to see what's it like if you do this. So I've got toes against the wall, only toes. I'm looking down to the floor still. So I'm not looking into the wall. I'm looking down. So it's going to mimic my freestanding position. There's my freestanding handstand. Toes are against the wall. And I'm just going to hold this position for time. Now, the reason we want to hold it for time is if I make a really amazing handstand line, but I can only hold it against the wall for 2 seconds, it probably means that I'm faking it in terms that I'm stop breathing, I'm holding everything in, I'm holding this position. Realistically, that's not going to be the position that you can hold for time and balance with. So it's not a usable flexibility. So you want to get in a position where you can hold a conversation, you can breathe, hold for time, video from the side, make sure you're looking down and make sure your toes are very, very light on the wall. That's going to give you the assessment. Is your body in a straight line? Can you hold it for time? Is it conditioned enough? Then you can add the balance on top. So that's really important. So that's the straight position. And then we have the press handstand. So the moment you're pressing up nicely from a strength point of view, you're getting up, which is awesome, from very low yoga blocks. Now we want to see what's the control like. So we might press up like this, but what's our pathway like if we try and do a cleaner stacked version? Now, it might be that we need to go back to wall or chest to wall or have some sort of assistance as we do that if you don't have the skill to do it. But we've got to try and work out if you've got the flexibility to do it. Now, if you've got the flexibility, you might have the flexibility to do it, but not the skill, then you might have to assess, okay, what's my straddle pancake like for that press, for bringing the legs up? And then what's my spinal mobility like? And you might want to look at that through something like a Jefferson curl or something like that. So there's a little bit more assessment that needs to go in there. However, the quality in terms of the positioning and the balance and the strength that you've created already, you've come really far already. So, but it's just basically assessing and then making sure that it's not habits that create in those positions. So that was a little bit harder to critique with just the one video. Okay, we have another video, but that's the 90-degree one again. I think that's in there twice. It's that awesome, it's in there twice. I achieved the press in less than 30 days, but the question is, am I doing it right? If not, then what to focus on? So let's have a look at this one. So impressive to get the, whee, look at this, flying up. Okay, so super impressive. That actually looked a little bit like my first press that I got. Let's see it again. So watch the forward lean and the momentum. I'm going to try and pause it at that point. So super impressive. One, to press like that, and two, to catch the handstand at the top. Because if you look at the momentum and the forward lean as you go up, you're coming up with so much speed going up that you have to control that at the top. Most people, especially when they start doing pike presses, it overbalances them because they just get too far over the top. This one's really hard to catch. Okay, so you can see there, like pike position there. Shoulders are very far over. We've got lots of straight lines. So you've got the straight arms, you got the straight spine, and then the straight legs. So you've got lots of angles and at the joints. So you've got the elbow joint and you've got the hip joint. That you've got lots of angles that then when they have to open up, it's really hard to control and not go over. So all I would do again with the press, and this is normally the way with presses, with handstand push-ups and things like that, is to really refine the eccentric, so the down. And also decide what press you want to do. I'd recommend that you also work on your tuck press and your straddle press. And so it just makes it a little bit more stacked. So you're not using so much momentum to go forwards. But basically just practicing the eccentrics like I just demoed for the last couple of guys there. So from this position, you could do very slow pike. So like you just done going up. And that will allow you to slowly refine that and take out the momentum that's taking you up at the moment. Do exactly the same for the straddle. You could do the tuck handstand as well. So from there, coming down, you might want to frog a little bit with the legs. But come down that way and then extend the feet, toes to touch. But I would practice those. It looks like your balance is pretty good already, but make sure you've got a big balance window you can hold for 30 to 60 seconds, no problem. And I would just refine the eccentrics and then try and slowly go up into your press. You should be able to go up pretty slow in the tuck and the straddle because you're going up fast in the pike. Okay, working on Croda handstand. Uneven chronicles of balancing. Like it. Okay, I've seen these videos. This guy's on Instagram doing the handstand 365. Yeah, I'm sure you you guys know what I'm going to say now. So this is exactly the same as the press handstand. We need to refine it through the eccentrics. Okay, so there's a lot of different variations of crow to handstand, whether you use momentum, the hip height, when the Twyman of the knees come off the elbows, whether you use momentum. So that was a little bit of speed there. See how their shoulders went down, hips went up quite fast, legs went up quite fast. And then a nice handstand catch at the top. So that's how I'd refine it. I'd do exactly what you're doing at the moment because it's working, but I'd also do handstand to a really clean freestanding hold, which I mean, like, you know, there's a really good one there. I would refine your straddle and your tuck as well. So at the moment when you open into your straddle, you're arching the body instead of sitting the hips backwards. And then I would just work on real slow handstand down to crow. And if that's specifically what you really want to work on, I'd also be doing all your handstand push-up variations, your other drills you can do towards freestanding handstand push-ups. But I'll be working on that under balance. So making sure that in your handstand, so number one, this is strong and you can hold here for time. And then you can also hold here for time. See the shoulders forwards, feet backwards. Watch what happens now is if I just do this and frog down, bend the arms, there's my crow. Exactly the same, back up, but obviously a little bit harder to that under balance position. Then I open the shoulders back up. I'm still looking down. So I would focus on that static straight handstand. And you can do it on your eccentrics whenever you get up. So use your version of the up, whatever that is, whatever that looks like. But then for the down, nice handstand hold in the under balance, then slowly frog the legs down, come down, see if you can go back up to that under balance position. And then just show control. But again, fantastic work already. And I know from your videos on Instagram, your consistency is there, which is the biggest thing with all these skills, just consistent, start chipping away at it, good quality reps. Notice where you're lacking flexibility, notice where you're lacking balance or strength, and then spend the time filling those gaps. So let me just check if anyone else has put one in. Okay, as far as I can see, that's all of them. I just update. Yeah, okay, let's have a look through the questions now. But I think that's a really good one. I actually like using the iPad and putting it up and being able to scroll through it and stuff. I think that's a little bit better than sharing the screen. It'd be too fiddly and stuff, especially because I'm jumping up and doing stuff. But any feedback on the process of doing this? Because my goal is to do this a little bit more often. I think this is a really powerful way of getting more content out for you guys, because I don't have to sit there and edit stuff and do videos, but it's a bit more direct on what you want to see. And I've got lots of videos with tutorials on all this stuff. So I don't want to keep repeating it. Now, importantly, we haven't shown Rosie yet. I think she's been creeping about in the background, but she is there. All right, let's have a look. Okay, what should I start to learn the one-arm handstand? So when should I start to learn the one-arm handstand? So I'd make sure you have a decent 60-second consistent handstand. You can do a strong tuck handstand and a strong straddle handstand. Saying that, I started the one-arm handstand journey before that. So you start playing with it. So because it's fun to learn, everyone wants to learn. They don't want to be told, yeah, start it in 6 months or 12 months. What I would do is I'd recommend that your handstand balance 2 arms, your training is very consistent and you're getting the reps and the sets done towards your straight arm holds to get to 60 seconds minimum consistently. If you haven't got that already, exactly the same with the straddle and the tuck. Keep working on those things and make sure they're super strong. And if they're not, do more work on them, make sure that's being done. Then once you've done that and you still want to have a play at the end of your handstand session, start playing with the handstand one-arm handstand drills. Go into a straddle, start flagging side to side, playing with that on top of the work that you're already doing. And then if that feels okay, start playing with weight shifts in the next progressions. Again, I've got lots of tutorials on one-arm handstands. The same as the 2-arm handstand, the 1-arm handstand is pretty basic in terms of the exercises that you should use. More or less everyone uses the same drills, but it's just doing it at the right time, like you've said, but also just accepting that it's going to take lots and lots of play, exploration, and time. And then eventually, when your 2-arm handstand is strong enough, you just replace the work in sets. You just do a quick warm up with your 2-arm and go straight into the 1-arm handstand sets and reps, but quality sets and reps where you're returning back to 2 arms and getting the time under tension. Yes, Pedro, it's me. We saw your videos. Awesome work. How to increase freestanding and handstand push-up reps. You need to assess what's missing. A lot of people, just your balance isn't strong enough. The reason I can do 10 plus handstand push-ups at 48 years old is because my balance is amazing. My 2-arm balance is super, super strong, and I have a big window of balance. So obviously you need to be strong enough to do the handstand push-ups. So you should be able to do chest to wall handstand push-ups. You should be able to do back to wall handstand push-ups, pike push-ups, no problem. And then you also then need to have that balance. So that's normally, for anyone who's strong-ish, that's normally the missing link. Better balance, better under balance control. Interesting, I can balance better when I go wider. Yeah, but just that's your base of support. So you can balance better because it's bigger. Like if I try and balance like this, it's going to be really, really hard. If I open my hands out, it gets easier and easier and easier. But there's a point where it becomes stupid, like what do they call them? Japanese handstand, when your hands are super wide. But normally most people are going to handstand better here. When we go to 1-arm handstand, same thing until you start getting good at 1-arm handstands. When you get better at 1-arm handstands, you soon realize hair is much easier, but it's much harder to initially start and get into the 1-arm handstand. So try and go in a happy medium. Your hands are pretty wide at the moment. I go here when I do a 1-arm handstand. I recommend you go there. So you go somewhere in the middle and slowly start to bring it in. And trust me, it'll be better. The mistake a lot of people make is I can't see my canes. Maybe they're out the back. But they'll have canes made, and they'll have canes made to their handstand position. And then as they get better at handstands, they soon realize that they've had the canes made too wide. So you actually want your canes made super close because you're slowly going to bring your hands in. That's the cool things with not having fixed apparatus, that you can just slowly bring them in as you progress. But trust me, over time, you'll bring your hands in. Hello, Coach Paul. Hope you are doing fine. Have you talked about my video already? If yes, can you do a critique on it once again so I can ask you questions regarding my press to handstand? Have I done that one? Oh, yeah, cool. Yeah. I'll just read down the comments more. Good morning from Taiwan. Good morning. It is still morning here as well, 10:47. What's the dog's name? Dog's name is Rosie. She's in all the videos. Even if you don't see her, she's in the background somewhere. Thanks, Paul. I'll work more on the balancing aspect. Yeah, awesome work on those fantastic reps. Okay, thank you, Coach. Hearing an appreciation from you really made my day. Really, thank you very much. I never did straddle press. I just learned pike, and I will work on whatever you said. Yeah, you got impressive press already. That's super impressive. That speed you went up and to catch it is awesome. Great advice. Thanks, Paul. From which I learned pike press. Thanks a lot. I did everything on my journey to press whatever you said in the video. Thanks. My current weight is 71 to 72 kilos. Yeah, you're doing awesome. You fill the gaps with the other presses. The pike press is also seen as the hardest press handstand of the standard ones before you start getting into like L-sit presses and Stalder presses. So, to be able to get that is super impressive. Underbalance is the bane of my existence for training. Yeah, it's the one that is the hardest to get across and start doing the repetitions and good quality sets and reps, but it's the one that will make the biggest difference in your handstand. Hi, first time catching you on live stream. Keep up the good work. Thank you very much. Appreciated. Hopefully, so the plan is to do 2 to 3 lives a week now. That's the plan. I will put another post up, another community post up with the next set of videos. So if you want to get your videos in at the moment, while there's not too many, then I'll put the next community post up with where you can put the links. My balance is amazing. New goal, be able to say that. Awesome. Like the goal. For a handstand workout, do you recommend doing balancing drills first, like toe or heel pulls, then later holding for duration or strength type drills? I would use back to wall and chest to wall drills, the heel pulls and toe pulls as a warm up. until you get to a point. Like for me, when I warm up, I jump up into a 2-arm handstand, but I move around in the handstand. So I test my overbalance, my underbalance, or warm it up, and get everything. Check everything feels okay. And you might not be able to see it, but someone who's really good on their hands will do that. When you don't have that consistency yet, the wall's your friend. Do a few heel pulls, do 2 toe pulls, then heel pulls, toe pulls to some time, so some holds, whatever variation you're working on or level you're up to, and then some shape work if you have time, and then go into strength. I'd always do it that way around, because the strength is much easier once you've done a warm up of the balance, and the balance will help you, and it's also much harder to balance after you've done strength. Hi Paul, I finally reached 56-second handstand hold. Whoa, 56 is awesome. Currently work on transition, straight, straddle, tuck, nice, but a little bit struggle with them. I can't move my legs as well between each shape. What should I do? Obviously mobility's there, but normally it's just because you're getting used to bringing the legs in front of you, the feet and legs in front of you, and taking the hips backwards. So the easiest way to do that is to use the wall. So if I go into my straight handstand here and I want to go to straddle, I'm just going to open, don't touch the wall. Now try and kiss the butt to the wall. Now come back, try and kiss the heels to the wall. So just do it like that. Same with tuck. So come down, butt to touch, and then back, heels touch. Butt touches very, very lightly, and back up. If that's too hard and you don't have the home positions, so you can't hold the straddle, you can't hold the tuck consistently, hold there for longer in those positions with the butt very, very lightly on the wall. You will need to fine tune your distance. Your hands are away from the wall, but that's what I'll be working on. Okay, I'm eventually getting my workshop sorted for the UK. So I'll be in the UK in August. Let me just double check what date I went with. Yeah, so I'm looking at Sunday, August the 10th in Nottingham. So if you're in the UK and you want to come along the workshops, I'll be putting information out very soon on that. So that's the Sunday, the 10th of August. But there'll be more details on that. So if you are in the UK, I doubt anyone is watching the live in the UK because it's like middle of the night. But yeah, the recording might be powerful there. Okay, guys, I'm going to sign off unless there's any other questions with anyone online. And this is the plan to do these. I'll come on live. The goal's 2 to 3 times per week. Some shorter ones, and then I'll do this once a week where I do your videos. I also do the double wall drills after watching your video, which you made for under overbalance. Awesome. It's helped me a lot learning the balance window. Very much awesome video for everyone to learn. Yeah, that's the balance window is so important, and really for most people they have a gap somewhere in it, so trying to fill it makes a lot of sense. How to learn crane pose. So crane pose, make sure you've got a strong crow before you go into it, or frog positions. Make sure you're nice and comfortable there. And then I would just practice with light toe assist. So go into straight arms, externally rotate the hands, so it's a lot easier to come forwards. So there, so I'm in that position. And then I would just practice putting the knees onto the arms, and then you can lift one leg up and hold there for time. Practice that, but make sure you have the crow or froggy position first. Then you go into straight arms, same thing there, and then lift up in that position, again for time. I would highly recommend doing some planche work as well. See the position I'm in now, so I've got that protraction in the scapula. Make this super strong. So just holds in that position, holds in planche leans, so just holding here for time. Make sure that that is super easy to get into. See, I'm holding a conversation while I'm rounding out the back. That's like the base, the foundation for a crane. And any planche work or crane strength is going to really help you for press handstand. Try and take as much weight out of the legs as you can, have as much weight in the upper body as you can. Thanks, Paul. I'll try and bring some more videos for the next live. Have a good one. Awesome, guys. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe. Really helps the channel out. Thumbs up, spread the word, and I'll see everyone in the next live.